If you watched my recent shorts video, you know that I recently purchased $95.95 in junk silver. Now, this is just Washington quarters and Mercury dimes. I don't know what the exact mix of the coins are, but I know it's $95.95. I'm hoping to go through this bag today and see if we can fill something in one of the books. Hey everyone, it's RobFindsTreasure and welcome back to my channel. Like I said in the intro, I purchased $95.95 worth of Washington quarters and Mercury dimes. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll recall that a few months back, we started a hunt and fill for silver quarters from junk silver purchases, and we got pretty good progress on this Washington quarters album. That's all of the silver quarters plus a couple of clads. I will say in advance that even though we did fill a lot of the slots in there, I have sold a few out of that album on a few of my live streams. So we have a few extra spots to fill, and I'm hoping we can find those in this bag and have some other additions to boot. On top of that, recently I released a video on Mercury dimes that I did for a hunt and fill. And so obviously, since this bag should have some Mercury dimes in there and you can see them, we're going to see if we have any dates to put in that book. The first order of business is to go ahead and dump out this big bag and get them separated between Mercury dimes and quarters. Now, I have no idea what the exact mix is. I just went to my silver dealer and said, can I buy all of your Washington quarters and Mercury dimes? And he happened to say he had $95.95 in face value worth. And I got it at a pretty good price, just around 20 times face, so not too bad. Let's go ahead and get this dumped out and let's see what it looks like all dumped out. Didn't want to do a slow motion, just wanted you guys to hear the sound of silver, and man, that is a lot of junk silver. Holy cow. Now, I know I'm calling it junk, and just as an FYI, anything at 90% silver is considered junk silver, although it is constitutional silver, and I think it's gorgeous. All right, let me go ahead now and get the Mercury dime separated from the Washington quarters, and then I'll give you a value of each type for the breakdown. All right, we have got them sorted. $10.20 in Mercury dimes. I have not checked the dates. I merely just pushed them left and right. We have $85.75 in quarters, so that's going to be the bulk of the search today. But man, that's a lot. Since we have less Mercury dimes, we're going to kick it off with those. The next step for me to do is go ahead and get them separated by decade. Teens, 20s, 30s, and 40s. And as I do that, I will not check for any mint marks. I'll just put them in those decade sort dates. And then after we get them separated by decade, then we'll go through there and see if we have any good ones. Now, as a reminder, we're not missing that many from this book. We do need some better dates. Don't expect to see any 21s or a 16D, but it'd be nice if we could find them. Let me go ahead and get the quarters put in this bin. We'll get those separated, and I'll be back in just a second. Well, I've got them sorted by decade now for the Mercury dimes, and I'll tell you right now, we've got some nice years represented in here. Not a lot of them, but some nice years and some nice condition coins, so we might have an upgrade or an addition for the Mercury dime album. Teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and I have the 42s here because I'll be looking for the 42 over 41 that you can find in the Philadelphia and Denver mints. That being said, we had a couple of gemmy-looking ones. This is a 1945 Denver. It doesn't have full bands, but it is close. And then we also have a 1943 in fantastic shape. And when I scoped it for funsies, take a look at this. Full bands, full bands, full bands. Now, in order to get the full bands designation, it must be mint state, and that's a close call. It's probably a low mint state, 61 or 62, but it's definitely full bands. Unbelievable. Two gemmy looking ones, and there's some other nice ones represented in the other years. Now it's time to go through what we have here and see if we have any upgrades or additions for all the albums. And I'll tell you, there were two 1916s. I haven't looked at the mint marks yet. Let's go ahead and get them sorted, and we'll start with the teens first. I'll put the best ones of every year in mint on top, and then we'll see if we have upgrades or additions. Could be an exciting hunt. For the teens, we did get a 1916 and a 1916S. No Denver, of course. 17 P&D, we got two 18s. One's really damaged. And then a 1919 and a 1919 Denver. Now, these are in decent shape. And I know we need some in the book. So we definitely might have a few spots filled. And I'll be taking a look to see what we add and what we upgrade. Let me do that really quick. And then move on to the 20s after I show you what we upgraded or added to. Well, we pretty much used them all, either upgrades or additions. Now in the teens, we're only missing three, the 16D, the 18S, and the 19S. And those are pretty decent Mercury Dimes from junk fill and search purchases. So definitely off to a pretty good start in the teens. That wraps those up. Let's move on to the 20s. The 20s were fantastic. We didn't get any 1921s, of course, but pretty good mix of years and mints. We only had one duplicate, two 1927 Phillies. Outside of that, all PD&S, 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 P&D on the 26, which is tough. 25P, all PD&S 24s, 23Ps, no 21s like I said, and 20 P&D. And on top of that, they're not in bad shape. Compared to the ones we have in the book, I'm going to imagine we're not only going to add some, we're going to upgrade some. Let me go ahead and do that. Well, we definitely had a majority of the coins used for upgrades and additions. Now for the 20s, we're just missing the 20S, both 21s, 23S, 25D, 25S, the 26S, of course, which is a semi-key date. But we have all of the other 20s. Only 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more coins in the 20s. And when you couple that with the 3 we're missing from the teens, we're only missing 10 coins from 1916 all the way to 1929S. The 30s, we need some of those. And I thought I saw some 30s and 31s in there, so we might have some upgrades and additions in here as well. Let's move on to the 30s and keep it going. Well, it looks like we got someone's album that was dumped out and cashed in because we have all the 30s except for a 31D. We have 30P and S, 31P and S, no Denver, 34P and D, and then PD and S for 35, 36, 37, 38, and 39. And there are a couple of pretty nice coins in here overall. I will definitely have to check some of these against my personal album to see if they upgrade that first. But either way, we're going to fill a lot of spots in the early 30s for sure. Holy cow. No key dates, but definitely some nice Mercury Dimes. Let me get them plugged into the album, be back, and show you the progress we made on the 30s next. The 30s went well. We used a lot of them again. We're now only missing the 31D. We went ahead and slotted all the other ones that we needed and upgraded several of them. So just one from the 30s is needed. And we've got some nice Merc Dimes in here from these purchases and hunts. Holy cow. So all of the 30s are done. We're already done with the 40s, but of course, we'll go through that, check for varieties, look for the 45 Micro S and the 42 or 41s, see if we have any upgrades. No additions needed, but we're looking for upgrades. And then, of course, we'll see if those upgrade my personal collection, and if not, we'll slot them into the book. Let me get that done next. Well, we got all the 40s. 40 PDNS, 41 PDS, 42 PDS, 43, 44, and 45 PDNS. I will tell you, 1945, I flipped it around and took a look at the S Mint, and we've got a Micro S. So that's a nice little find. It's not in a gradable condition, probably XF at best, but still the Micro S. They don't really fetch value until they hit mint state, but I'll definitely take it. It was the only S Mint in the 45 year. Crazy. There's some beauties in here. That 40 Denver is really nice. The 41 Philly, the 41 Denver, the 43 Philly, the 43 Denver, even the 43S is nice. On top of that, you already saw it, but that 45 Denver is gorgeous. Let me go ahead now and upgrade the book and give you guys a recap after only the second junk silver purchase and hunt for the Mercury Dimes, where we stand. And we still have all the quarters to do. It's going to be a long video, but it's been fun. We have finished the Mercury Dimes. I didn't have the heart to put the beauties in the book. We're going to keep those to the side. I'll make a decision on them later, whether I submit them or just keep them in my personal collection. Definitely too nice to throw in a book. That's all of my overstock of the teens and 20s, and that's the 30s and 40s. This Mercury Dime album holds 77 possible spots. Technically 78 if you want to include the Micro S, and then technically 80 if you want to include both 42/41 varieties. That being said, there's 77 placeholders in here. We're only missing 11. We have 66 now, so we added 16 since the last update. You've seen them all. They're in pretty nice shape. We're missing all 11 on the first page. Most of them teens and 20s. Most of them the tougher dates. As far as the 30s and 40s, we got them all. And there are some beauties in here. And I even added a spot for that Micro S. I already have a Micro S in my collection. So I figured since it was different than the 45S, go ahead and add it in there. There's a spot for it. So 66 of the 77 Mercury Dimes through 2 junk silver purchase and hunts have been completed. Now that we've done that, we're going to slide these out of the way and move on to the Washington quarters. Let me clean off the area. I'll quickly show you the book and where we're at on it before we do the sort. And of course, as always, I'll be sorting them. I'll be looking for varieties, and I'll fill you in along the way with what I find. This Washington Quarters album is my backup, just like the Mercury Dimes. It has 86 potential spots from 1932 to 1967. Like I said in the intro, I used a couple recently out of here that we had from the last junk silver purchase and hunt, but we're only missing 11. Of course, all the 32s, and we know the bag at least has a 32P like I showed in my short, so we definitely have that addition. But we're missing 3 from the 32 years, 1934D, 35S, 36S, 37S, 38S, and 39S. Moving right along, we have most of the 40s. All the 40s on this page. Of course, we're looking for upgrades too. And then we're missing the 47S and the 51S. It always is the S mints for me. We're missing the 55 Denver in the book. And then we have all the rest. And I even put in really nice clad years, 1965, 66, and 67. I will not be adding to the book through 1970, whatever. So we're looking for 11 quarters in the bag of quarters that we have. And of course, we're always looking for varieties or key dates or semi-key dates or any upgrades we can find for this book. Not my favorite type of book. That's why it's a backup book. I don't really like when they have this binding here because it holds the pages a little bit too hard. But either way, let me go ahead now and get the quarters sorted by decade first. And it's going to take a while because what was it? 85, 75. So almost 400 quarters we got to sort through. I'll be back after I get the sort done. Well, that took a bit. I have all of them sorted by decade. 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. In front, we did have 3 proof quarters, 58p, 59p, and 61p. I can tell not only that they're proofs by the way they look, of course, but they have the proof reverse on the back, which I have videos on. As far as nice quarters, take a look at this 1948 Denver. Holy cow, that's being compared to my album first, as well as this 1951 Denver, another beauty. And then the other end of the spectrum is, I don't know what the heck this is. It looks like somebody attached it to something. It's just a 64, thankfully, but yeah, that's some damage right there for sure. Ironically, we did have really nice quarters in the 60s that were set. 60p and D, 61D, but I'm thinking they used this 61p proof quarter as the Philly. 62p and D, 63p and D, and 64p and D. It's not uncommon to get uncirculated 60s finds. Of course, I'll be checking all of the P quarters from 1956 through 64 for both the Type B proof reverse as well as the 64D for the Type C 65 clad reverse. We'll be checking all those, of course, throughout the video. But now that we've got them sorted, we've got to start with the 30s and go ahead and get them sorted by year and mint and see if we have additions to the book. I'll say now, unfortunately, I only think I saw that one 1932 quarter, which was Philly. No other 1932s that I remember seeing when I was doing the sort. So no chance of getting a 32 DRS in the lot, but maybe I missed it. Who knows? Either way, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back once I got these cleared away and we've got the 30s sorted. All right, we have got the 30 sorted, and wow, we've got them all except for the 32 DNS. That's the 32P. We have both the 34 P&D, all the 35s, 36s, 37s. You know there's no 38 Denver quarter, so we have the 38 P and S and 39 PD and S. Crazy. So we have them all other than the two key dates, which we didn't expect to find those, of course. That being said, some of them are in decent shape, so I'm going to go ahead now and add them to the book, and we should not only complete the 30s except for those two, we might have a few upgrades as well. I'm also going to take a quick peek to see if we have any of the varieties that I want to look for, such as the 34 P DDO. I already have one of those in my collection. There's only one to look at, but we'll take a peek. And then, of course, the 37. We have a couple of those Philadelphias. We'll check for the DDOs there as well. So let me go ahead and do that really quick, get them in the book, and I'll show you the progress we've made and what we filled up. All right, we've got the 30s plugged in the book. I've chosen the best of every year in mint, and man, we got them all except for the DNS from 1932. And I know there's circulated examples, but some of them are pretty nice overall for circulated examples. And remember, this book is only two different junk silver purchases. So the one before this one plus this one. 30s are looking good. It's time to move on to the 40s. We only need a 47S if I recall. Yeah, 47S. So we'll take that. We'll take any upgrades. And of course, we'll be looking for any varieties in the 40s. Let me get them sorted. After I've got them sorted, I'll bring it back to show you the mix. That's a beautiful sight for the 40s. We have all of the 40s, PD and S from 40 to 1948. And of course, as you know, there is no 49S or none were minted. So we have the 49 P and D. And there's some nice coins in here. There's some nice coins in here for sure. So I would imagine we not only have the addition we needed, the 47S. As a matter of fact, we had 3 or 4 of them. But hopefully we can add some upgraders as well. Let me go ahead and knock those out. I'll be back with a look at the 40s once they're in the album. Oh, I guess I'll go ahead and let you know that no, there were no 42D DDOs, no 43P or 43S DDOs either. I didn't check for all the little minor varieties like RPMs and things like that, just the major varieties, and we did not have any of those. Let me get them into the book. All right, we have finished the 40s. A lot of upgrades. We did get the addition that we needed. All the 40s are complete, and we have some decent examples in here, so that makes me happy. We're going to be moving on to the 50s now, and all we need is the 51S, and hopefully it's in there. Let me get the 50s sorted and see what kind of goodies we can upgrade and add to. We have finished sorting the 50s. Interestingly, we didn't have a 58 Philly. All of them were Denver, although we have a really nice 58 Denver here. We also did have a 51D on the board because it's in the flip. It's just too nice, so I'm not going to put it on the board. Won't be using it. We don't need it, though. We did need the S, and we have a few of those, so we can choose the best out of those. Some decent ones in the 50s. Obviously, we're going to have the addition we need. I'm assuming we're going to have some upgrades, so let me plug them in, and then I'll give you a look at the 50s before moving on to the final set of 60s. I do want to make a quick mention that I did double check all of the 50Ds and 50Ss for the over mint marks. Didn't have any. And I checked all of the 1956, 57, and 59 Phillies for the Type B proof reverse. Didn't have that either. Let me get them in the book, and I'll be right back. All right, we got the 50s done. We did use the 51S that we needed, as well as the 55D. We didn't have that either. So all of the quarters are now in the book. You'll recall I had the nice 60s up here, and I put them all in. We didn't have an upgraded 61P, so I'll definitely be looking in there to see if we have a nicer one that maybe I missed. Outside of that, all of the quarters are in the book. Now I just need to sort the 60s, look for the DDOs, the DDRs, the proof reverses, you name it. A lot of varieties of scope in the 60s, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then I'll bring you back with a final look at the book and some final thoughts on this hunt. Well, we have finished the quarter sort and the variety check. No DDOs, no DDRs, no Type Bs, no Type C reverse on the 64 Denver. So no varieties found in this hunt, which is expected. I mean, they're varieties for a reason. They're harder to find. I have found some before in BU stuff, but not in necessarily do I find it in the junk silver. I think it's already been searched through a few times. That being said, what a fun bag of silver. As already mentioned, only 11 Mercury Dimes separate me from getting the second Mercury Dime collection in my personal collection being complete. And of course, there are some nice ones in there, but we saw there's some pretty bad ones as well, and we're missing the best dates. That being said, we're only missing 2 quarters in the entire Washington quarter series for silver, just the 32 DNS. And as mentioned, not a bad looking book. Obviously, it's junk silver purchases, so none of these are going to be super high grade. But the fact that we have it all completed besides the 2 tough ones is a pretty good accomplishment for only a couple of hunt and fills. And we have some nice quarters in here. I don't want to take away from the back pages because as we moved up in years, they got nicer and nicer. We'll definitely take that. The best finds of the hunt, other than filling up the books a lot, is we got some tougher date, late 30s and early 40s quarters I've separated from the rest of the bulk of the quarters. We got those 2 nice Mercury Dimes, a couple of nice mint steak quarters, the 48 and 51. We got 3 proof quarters, 58, 59, and 61. And we added a lot of silver to my stack. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this junk silver purchase and hunt and album fill episode. If you did, I would appreciate that thumbs up. And as always, everyone, happy stacking, happy hunting, and thanks for watching.